Hi, this is Ofori, the digital reader, and what I want to talk about today, more and more people are buying Kindles, they're buying Kobos, and now especially that ebook readers are pretty much starting to come out with color versions. Kobo came out with some color ebook readers, and Kindle may be around the corner. I think even more people are going to be buying ebook readers. And I guess I kind of wanted to talk about, just so people know, that if you have an ebook reader, whether it's a Kobo, whether it's a Barnes and Nobles, or whether it's a Kindle, when you buy an ebook, you don't own it. You are licensing it. And that means that at any time that they want, they can just stop giving you access to download that ebook. Now, if you have a device and the ebook is downloaded on that device and you are savvy enough to turn off your Wi-Fi, then you can keep the book on that device for as long as that device still works. But a thing to be aware of is, if you have an ebook reader and you are connected to Wi-Fi and they decide for whatever reason we don't want to give you access to this book anymore, then they can actually take the book away from you even if you've downloaded it, if you're connected to Wi-Fi and can receive downloads and updates. Now, I'm a person who's big into digital reading and ebooks, so it matters to me. It might not matter to a lot of people, and if you're the kind of person who uses a Kindle for portability and convenience, but if you really like a Kindle book, you purchased a physical book, it's probably not a big thing for you. If you are a person, though, who has decided to downsize your book collection and keep more and more of your books on your Kindle, then that's when it becomes really important to you. And I'm talking about Kindle, but I also mean Kobo, and I also mean Barnes and Nobles. If you look on either of those, their terms of service, they will state that you are buying a license to the book. You are not buying ownership. And because you've bought a license, at any time that can change. Honestly, I would say if you're a person who is into ebooks, and you're a Kobo, or you are a Kindle user, I would strongly recommend just pay for the unlimited service and don't buy any books. Because when you pay for the unlimited service, you're renting them anyway. Now, in thinking about all of this, I kind of realized that because of my age, I'm from a generation where everybody owns stuff, and then I'm like one of the first generations to really be part of the digital media revolution, where there were music you can download, movies you could download, books you could download. And because of that, I still have ownership issues. When I purchase music, I want to own it. I do use Spotify, but the only reason I use Spotify is to listen to music that I'm unsure if I want to buy. And if I like the music, I absolutely purchase it. So Spotify for me is always a temporary solution to just kind of check out music. But when I like music, I always buy it. I always store it. It's also the same with my movies and DVDs. If I like a movie or a if I like a movie or a TV show, I purchase the DVD and then I burn it in a digital format and I store it on a hard disk. That's just because of the generation I came from. I'm just hardwired into that. I think a lot of people nowadays, they don't mind trading convenience for ownership. I think that people who are buying music on, Amazon Prime, and they're buying music on Apple TV, or people who are using Spotify, it is super convenient. And for most of those people, they just want to use that media in the moment. So it's not like I have a collection and I'm going to go back and look on that collection again and again. It's in the moment. It's super convenient. That's perfectly fine. One thing I've kind of always found a little interesting, though, is that when digital music first came out, there was just all this fear about pirating, and all the digital music services had some type of DRM, and eventually they got rid of DRM. Most music you download on the internet now, almost 100% of it, there is no DRM. And I think a lot of that came from when digital music first came out. The only people who could really access it were gearheads, and gearheads were all about pirating. I think when digital music became big enough that the average consumer wanted access to it and knew how to access it, that they realized that there would be more to be gained from opening up the access for the average consumer than trying to lock out the gearhead. So I often think, I just wish books could reach a point like that where there are enough people reading books that they could say, you know what, let's just take out the DRM. People can download their books, they can own their books, and we'll give up on that fear. But I'm imagining because of margins and well, honestly, I don't know. I mean, there were so many reasons when music had DRM that all these music companies came up with why it was so important to have piracy protection in DRM. And then when they got rid of it, it didn't seem like those reasons really meant a whole lot. So I hope books reach a point like that where they're just kind of like, DRM has just kind of been getting in the way of people who want to get books, and let's just use kind of the honor system that people will pay for books and come up with some services for people who just want instant access to books. I mean, I wish that there was, in a way, Kindle Unlimited is like this, and so is Kobo Unlimited, that there was kind of like a Spotify for books where people could just pay a monthly fee and read a ton of books across a whole bunch of different genres, and as long as you paid the fee, you had the book. So for all of you out there who do feel like you're storing more and more ebooks, and more of the books you get are ebooks, I feel like that there are a couple things you definitely have to think about when you're doing that. And I feel like the first thing is, when you buy a device that can read ebooks, it's really useful to have several devices from different manufacturers that you can download all of your ebooks. And when you're not actively using the device, turn off the Wi-Fi. If you're using the device and you're out and about, turn on your Wi-Fi, go for it. But if you're not actively using the device, if it's going to sit for a while, just turn off the Wi-Fi. That way, if anything ever happens, those books will stay on there. Another thing is, and I've mentioned this several times, download your books to something. It can be an ebook reader. My strongest preference is you download your books to your computer. And in line with that, definitely think about looking into getting an ebook management program if you find that your model has changed where you don't have space for books, or you have too many physical books, and you've made a decision that you're going to reduce the number of physical books that you have and own, but increase the number of electronic books that you have. Just remember, storing them in Kindle's cloud or in Kobo's cloud or Barnes & Noble's cloud, that's just a recipe for failure, because at some point, if they change something, you just won't have access to them because you don't own them. So there are a couple things I kind of want to touch on. And the first thing is, like I mentioned, download your books somewhere, preferably your computer. Get an ebook management program. The two big dogs for ebook management program are Alpha eBooks Manager and Calibre, although some people call it Caliber, but I don't pronounce it that way because I feel like Libre is in the title and Libre is books and free. I'm going with Libre. So Calibre and Alpha eBooks Manager are the two big dogs. In my notes, I've linked to both. Download that on your computer and then you can store your ebooks there. I prefer Calibre. Calibre is incredibly versatile. It does take a little bit of searching the internet and figuring stuff out, but it's incredibly versatile. And one nice thing about Calibre is you can use it as an ebook manager even if you aren't stripping the DRM out of your books, because it can you can use it to transfer ebooks back and forth from your Kindle or your Kobo or you know, your Barnes and Noble book. It's an incredibly versatile program, although you may have to look for a couple tutorials on how to do things, but it really pays off in the end. Make some decisions about DRM for yourself. If you don't care about DRM, digital rights management, or anti-piracy measures in books, then that's fine. You know, use what you have, download your stuff. I feel, to be honest, as long as you have an ebook device that can read the format and the digital rights management book that you are downloading. So for example, if you have a bunch of Kindle books, you should always keep a Kindle in your collection. And for me, I would say it would be nice to keep a Kindle and just turn off the Wi-Fi and take all your books and store it on that Kindle and just put it on your bookshelf, and that's where all your Kindle books go. One really nice thing about ebooks is they still are incredibly small. So if you got a 32 gigabyte Kindle Paperwhite, that could store so many books. I mean, if you're doing it mathematically, think of it like this. If you have a 32 megabyte e-reader, thinking of the average ebook size, and this is being generous, is 3 megabytes. That means that just one backup Kindle that you keep on Wi-Fi and you sideload all your books and you like put all your books on by connecting them to your computer, that's going to hold over 10,000 books. That's probably, for most normal people, going to last them a lifetime. And then you're good. You don't have to mess with stripping DRM and doing a whole bunch of illegal piratey stuff. Just turn off the Wi-Fi, put that on your shelf. All your ebooks can be there on that one ebook reader if you're big into ebooks. I would suggest you do that with whether it's a Kindle, whether it's a Nook, whether it's a Kobo. If you're thinking of moving to ebooks and you don't feel like messing around with DRM, I would strongly recommend you get a backup ebook reader of the type that you use. Turn off the Wi-Fi. It's great if you can get a version that has a SD card slot, but not really necessary because, like I said, if you get 16 or 32 gigs of memory, that's probably going to be a lifetime of book storage for you anyway. Most people just don't really realize that. Now, that's kind of why I say it's important for you to make some decisions about DRM. If you don't want to mess around with taking out the digital rights management or the anti-piracy protection from your book, then just get a backup of whatever ebook reader you primarily use and store everything on that. Turn off the Wi-Fi. You are in great shape because with the Wi-Fi off, they can't update it. They can't secretly take the books away. It'll stay on there forever. If you do decide that you want to take out the digital rights management from your book, then that's when you kind of have to do a little legwork, look for internet guides and forums. And my recommendation would be to change all of your ebooks to one or two widely used formats. The most widely used formats in ebooks are EPUB and MOBI, and it's MOBI. Those are the two most widely and universally used, and most book readers will support one or both of those formats. Of course, there's PDF, but I really don't like PDF, and most people who are book readers don't like PDF because since you can't change the formatting of a PDF, you really need a bigger screen to read a PDF. And I generally don't consider a PDF a format that you use for reading personal books. I feel like it's a great format for comics. It's a good format for manga. It's a good format for technical stuff. But you just have to be aware that you're going to need to invest in a bigger screen if you're going to be using PDF. So that's kind of why I stay away from PDF. Like I said, those are just kind of my thoughts on it. And something you definitely need to think about is you don't own your books, your ebooks, if you're just buying them and downloading them on your ebook reader without thinking about some type of plan to keep those books. And if you are reading books and if you like it, buying the physical version, great. But I've seen a lot of videos of people who bought a Kindle, and the main reason they bought a Kindle is because they didn't have a large space for books to begin with, and they've already maxed that space out. Or for people who they had a large library and then moved to a smaller space, and they had to make tough decisions about what to take with them, and so they decided to use a Kindle to really help add some books to their collection without filling up their physical library. So anyway, these are just my thoughts. Always interested in questions and comments. And this is Ofori Murray, the digital book reader, and keep reading.